Hi everyone. So we are going to continue with graphing polynomials. So I would like you to factor this problem. We're going to have to use synthetic division and guess and check. So I've got 1, 5, -8, -12 as my coefficients. So let's try some numbers. Remember, it's all multiples of 12. So 1, 1, 6, 6, -2. That's not going to work. That gives me -14. So we erase and try again. All right, -1, that's -1. 4, -4, -12, 12, 0. That worked. So remember, we're dividing by x. We just divided by x plus 1, right? So our x cubed goes down to x squared. So 1x squared plus 4x minus 12. And then that is an MC chart. What multiplies to -12 and combines to 4, 6 and 2, where the 2 is negative. So x minus 6, sorry, x plus 6, x minus 2, and then that -1 turns into x plus 1. You can put it in the front or the back, it doesn't matter. That's it. All right, so let's do a review of what we did the other day. So here's our polynomial, and it's got what are the zeros or the roots? So remember, to find zeros or roots, we're basically just taking each of these and setting it equal to 0, right? What do we get when we set each of the factors equal to 0? We get -6, -1, and +2. The y-intercept, if we plug in 0, what do we get? 0 plus 6 times 0 plus 1 times 0 minus 2, that gives us -12. So 0, -12 is our y-intercept. And then end behavior. As x goes to infinity, what's happening to our y? As x goes to -infinity, what's happening to our y? So now, if you're having trouble with this, here's what we could do. I'm going to start by putting my roots on here. I've got -6, -1, and 2. Now, as x goes to infinity, that means as we're on the right side here, say I plug in 3, right? If I plug in 3, we want to know, is this thing going up like that, or is it coming down? We have to figure that out. So if we plug in 3, I get 3 plus 6 times 3 plus 1 times 3 minus 2. Right? And you can plug this in your calculator. That's 9 times 4 times 1. That's 36. So that's a positive number. That means it's going up. So I'm going to erase the bottom part. I now know that on the far right, the 2, after 2, right, 3 is up. So it's positive infinity. It's going up, right? As we go to the right, our y value is going up. Now, if I plug in a negative, pick something far to the left of -6, -7. If I plug in -7, so -7 plus 6, -7 plus 1, -7 minus 2. So that's -1 times -6 times -9. That's -54. That's a negative. So this time we're going to the negative side. So that's -infinity, or my y is going down. So at -6, I'm going to put my dot, and it's going down. Between -1 and -6, it's going to be plus. If we plug in, we can see that. So it's coming up, coming down. My y-intercept is -12, so it's going to come down to -12 and hit. So we come down and then around. So that's what my graph looks like. All right, I want you to pause and see if you can figure this one out. So now be careful with this one, because we have an extra root, right? -x equals 0, x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. So don't forget, if -x equals 0, we get a 0, we get our -5, 7, and 1. And I usually jump right away and put these in. And again, try to put them in a spot that makes sense. So we have 4 of them. The x-intercept, if we plug in 0, we get 0 because of that x out front. We get 0 times 5 times -7 times -1. All right, as x goes to infinity, what happens to my y? So here's how I do these. I'm going to do it my way this time. So I have negative x, so I have a negative x, x plus 5, x minus 7, and x minus 1. Right? When I'm going to the right of 7, right, we're going to the right, we're plugging in positives. So I have a positive, a positive, a positive, a positive. Those are my 4 terms, but then I have that negative out front. So what does that give me? That gives me negative infinity. As x goes to negative infinity, now I'm going to plug in a negative x. So again, we have that negative out front from the negative x, or from the negative, and then we have our x, x plus 5, x minus 7, and x minus 1. So this time we're plugging negative numbers then. So a negative, a negative, a negative, a negative. So how many negatives is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a negative answer. So notice both of these have a negative. So now I know on both sides, far right it's going down, far left it's going down. So if I plugged in like -6 for the bottom one, I would end up with a negative number. If I plugged in 10, I would get a negative number. So now we're going to come up, come down, come up, and come down. All right, so it looks kind of like an M. Remember, nice smooth curve. All right, same idea. This is really, really similar, actually. Now, so pause and try it on your own. If you do -2x equals 0, you still get 0. The 0 is not 2. All right, so it's 0, -10, -9, 3, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. We get 5 of them this time. So 0, -10, -9, 3, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X-intercept is 0, 0. X approaches infinity. X approaches negative infinity. So I've got that -2, and then my x, x plus 10, x plus 9, x minus 3, x minus 8. The x, the minus out front, x, x plus 10, x plus 9, x minus 3, x minus 8. I'm ignoring the 2 because that doesn't really matter. If you want to make it -2 out front, go for it. You don't really need to. So if we plug in a bunch of pluses up top, what do I get? I get a negative. Y goes to negative infinity. So on the right, we're going down. On the bottom, plugging in a bunch of negatives. All right, so those 2 give me a plus. These 2 give me a plus. And these 2 give me a plus. So it's going to be positive infinity. So this one's flipped, right? On this x goes to the right, our y is going down. As x goes to negative infinity, as we go left, our y is going up. So I'm going to go through my roots, around, up, down, and it should go through nice and smooth. If it doesn't, we did something wrong. And that's it. Okay, so now we did this the other day. This is a factor by grouping problem. So I want you to factor by grouping, find your zeros. Right, so go through this one. So we got x squared and -16 for GCFs. X squared, x plus 2, minus 16x plus 2. So that gives us x plus 2, and we factor that out, right? Those go away. X squared minus 16. X squared minus 16 factors. X times x is x squared. 4 times 4 is 16. One's a plus, one's a minus. So our roots, we change our sign. y-intercept. If we plug in 0, we get negative 32. You could also look at the original, right? So 0 plus 2 times 0 plus 4 times 0 minus 4. Or if you look at the original problem, my y value is negative 32. As x goes to infinity, as x goes to negative infinity. So we only have 3 factors, right? 1, 2, 3. So plus, 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 and minus, minus, minus. You should get, after a while, you should get used to these, right? It's the same thing over and over again. So I got negative 4, negative 2, and 4. Don't squish it too much. If you don't need to put it really, you don't have to put them close to the axes. You can scale this in any way we want. So on the right, we're going up. On the left, we're going down. And then connect. And this we can label as negative 32. That's it. All right, so this is like the last one, but it's one extra thing we have to do. This one is a little harder. What do you notice about this problem that we haven't done? There is an x in every problem. So the first thing we're going to do is a GCF of the entire thing. When we do that, we get 9x cubed plus 63x squared minus x minus 7. Now you can do your GCF. Now do your factor by grouping. So we took an x out of the whole thing. Now go through and do factor by grouping with the rest of it. So I've got my x squared here and my minus 1 here. So 9x squared, just kidding. 9x squared, and I get x plus 7 minus 1, x plus 7. So we get x plus 7, 9x squared minus 1. And then that 9x squared minus 1 is a dots. What times itself is 9x squared? 3x and 3x plus 1 minus 1, x plus 7. And then I really had that x out front, right? So this is my factored answer. It's a 1. So I'm going to erase this. So the x came from that first GCF. And then I was able to factor by grouping, and I get x plus 7, and then 3x plus 1, and 3x minus 1. All right, so we got our 0 from the x. We have our negative 7. Now, what do you get for the 3x plus 1? 3x plus 1 equals 0. 3x minus 1 equals 0. What do we get? Minus 1 on both sides, and then divide by 3. So negative 1/3. And positive 1/3. So negative 1/3 and positive 1/3. So I got my 0, I got my 1/3, my negative 1/3, and way down here my negative 7. All right, so as x goes to infinity, y-intercept is 0. If we plug in 0, we get 0. X goes to infinity. So I have 4 terms, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 pluses. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gives me a plus. And then for negatives, no negatives in front. 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4 gives us a positive again. So we're going up on both sides here. So this doesn't go down. I'm going to start on the right side. Comes down a little bit, up a little bit, and then this guy's going to come way down. Because remember, the farther apart they are, the lower it goes. All right, this one's similar. So I'm going to tell you right now, there is a GCF of negative 2. I'm going to go through, do a GCF of negative 2, and then factor by grouping. See if you can do this one. This is challenging. So negative 2x. That gives us x cubed minus 4x squared minus 22x plus 30. Oh, this is not factorable. We'll do this one in a couple days. I don't want you guys to do one that's not factorable. You would have to do guess and check with because of the 30. All right, so this one also has a GCF for the whole thing. What do you think the GCF is, though? It's not just x. What is it? It's negative x. All right, so negative x, that gives me x cubed minus 10x squared minus 4x plus 40. All right, so this is factor by grouping, so go through and factor. X squared here, what's the GCF here? Negative 4, good. X squared, x minus 10, minus 4, x minus 10. Factor out that x minus 10. We're left with x squared minus 4, right? Those go away. So x minus 10, and then a dots, x plus 2 minus 2. And then don't forget that original GCF that was out front, which means what are our roots? So we got a plain x gives us 0, minus 10 gives us 10, and then negative 2 and 2. Y-intercept is 0, 0, not negative 40. So if you plug in 0 here, you get 0, not 40. All right, so I got 0, I got 10, I got 2, and negative 2. As x goes to infinity, we've got that a negative, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, that negative is not part of the x. So negative, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gives us a negative. So we're going down on the right, and then that negative, and then again 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. What does that give us? That also gives us a negative, right? Those two cancel, and we've got 1 left over. So they're both going down. And then we go up, down, up, and down. And there's our weird looking M kind of thing. All right, that's it. So factor by grouping, and then end behavior, just more practice. All right, have a great day.